Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's Pillow Talk podcast. I'm absolutely delighted, double delighted today. I love doing these podcasts. I love getting great guests on, but it's always amazing to be here in person. And I've got Mary with me today. We've known each other for a long while now. We'll go into that, how we met, how Mary has helped me. But this is a nice one today. I'm super buzzing about this. We normally do property, wealth, investment, all that boring business stuff, entrepreneurship. We're going to bring you a little bit of business, but we're going to be talking about mindset, spirituality, well-being, everything. And we have decided just to jump into this. We have not. There'll be some audience questions that will come in. So, guys, if you're watching live, please ask your questions. If you're not watching live and you didn't get your questions answered, follow up. We'll put all the details from Mary here. But we've decided just to open this up to the universe and just see what happens today.
See what comes in.
So, guys, we're talking about a wide range of things. I'm going to pass over to Mary. Give us a little introduction about yourself, your businesses, what you do.
Wow, well, where to start? I guess I call myself a mental fitness coach, and people go, what the heck is a mental fitness coach? And let me tell you a story of how I got to mental fitness
Please
coach.
do.
That probably will cover the range of what I do. So I started as a psychologist. Always been interested in psychology ever since I was an athlete. I was a professional athlete for most of my life, very successful, but knew that I could be better. So that set me off on what's stopping me from being better? I knew it wasn't physical, so I had to, at that point, I thought it had to be mental. So I went on to study, I have a master's degree in psychology, performance psychology, and then went on to work with professional athletes for a long time at the Institute of Sport. But during the time when I've been working with athletes, do you know that way people can academically give you a theory for something and you go, that's all well and good, but how the hell do I use it to help me? That was me with psychology. I was a little bit frustrated. I was a little bit frustrated with the prescriptiveness of it. And I'd also started working with clients independently at that time as well, and brought in, as you know, I do a lot of NLP and hypnotherapy. And so that almost started the kind of journey to the other bits of me. So I'm going down this path and I'm loving working with the athletes and working with the clients. And as I'm working with them, I would always get a lot of information and didn't know where I would get the information from. And typically you go, I must just be making it up. Lo and behold, long story short, I wasn't making it up. So the other element, I say like they've got a range of working at the talking level with the psychology, the counselling, do all of that. But then when you go to like the unconscious level, that's the NLP, that's the hypnotherapy, that's the kind of body-based emotional stuff, which I will talk more about later. And then there's another level which some people may call it spiritual. I call it energy level, the energy level. And these days I would probably call myself an energy healer and an energy weaver. Weaver, yeah. Nice. And as you know, I love running mind, body and soul retreats. Love working with clients. I work with a lot of clients in trauma. I tend to attract a lot of people with trauma. I absolutely love doing that work. Still love the work I do with performance athletes. And obviously, because it's a high performance, I naturally work with businesses, business owners, CEOs, because they want to be the best at what they do. So that's a bit about what I do.
Lovely. I'm going to take it back. Just mentioned being on a mind, body. Was it mind, body, and soul retreat? And I equated to this. I was thinking I was the only guy there.
The guy in that one, yeah.
There's things there's my comfort zones. I was speaking on stage in front of 1 million people. I would be super comfortable. I had to go and teach martial arts and fight in tournaments and present on business and be in high pressure business situations. I'd be relatively comfortable. I see that as my time to shine. But may push my comfort zones because I had to open up and be emotional. And as Mary said, it doesn't matter how skeptical you are here. I saw a different side to life of Mary being able to just penetrate your words and your bullshit and see right into your soul. So I would say of all the last few years, this was one of the things that was out with my comfort zone. And yeah, it was definitely in the self-development realm of let's do something that makes you Makes you feel uncomfortable. So tell us a little bit about that retreat, because you do them all the time, and I would recommend anybody to do that. I just went on it because of cold water, and at that point I was like, cold water retreat, I'm going to do that. I'm going to switch off. And normally we went on, we were doing 100 days of fitness and 100 days off the alcohol. And guys, there were people watching this, so what, 100 days? I've done 10 years, 20 years, and well done to you. But for me, that was the first time we did 100 days, and I was booking things in for my weekend just to, not that I would have broken it, but just I planned, I'm going to use that 100 days of health and clarity for me, not drinking, fitness, mindset, and doing, we did everything, went in Buddhist retreats, everything to do something different, push my comfort zones and experience something new that I wouldn't do if you were socialising at the weekend. So I got a lot more than I expected, booked into Mary's thing, and I'm going to let you tell me all about that, and because you run these, not just that one, but periodically.
I'm going to talk about yours because it was really interesting. As long as you don't mind me sharing some of the, I'm not going to share.
Was it all my hero stuff? Was it the hero stuff?
Well, there was a bit of a hero complex going on. I remember, like, when you walked in to the retreat, and when I meet people, I do an energy scan, and I remember seeing you, and all I could see was like you were there, but there was this bravado of this shadow in front of you. And I just smiled to myself and I said, am I allowed to swear in this?
Absolutely.
And I said, I cannot wait to fucking crack that. And it was like you presented this great, as you do, because you're very gregarious and outgoing and very confident. And I thought, great, I want to know what's behind that. And it probably took me a good day or so for you to go, okay, I'm letting you in. And then when you did open up a little bit more, you could, there was a complete shift. Well, I felt it in your energy, but you just softened into who you truly were. And it was a beautiful thing to witness. He's probably going to kill me for telling you this.
I did not know this, but by the way, you don't know this, but Holden, our new podcast technician, is behind the scenes. Holden, if this gets a bit personal, click finish on that. So I did not know. I was going to talk about mindset and fitness, but we're good. And I'm just going to go with it because I'll open up. So,
well, what it did is you talked about like emotions, like you were very much living in your head, like. And this is a good thing to talk about. We talk about mindset. Now, I might upset people when I say this, but I challenge mindset as the be all and end all for various reasons. The actual name mindset for me, if you talk about words and what that word does to yourself and your brain, mindset, it's telling your mind that it's set where it is. Your mind's not set where it is. You can alter the settings of your mind.
Yep.
But for me, people work a lot on their brain, on their mind, on their thinking, on that conscious stuff, which is brilliant. But that's like layer one. What the retreats do is they talk about mindset. They get you to help you understand the words that you're using, the impact they have, and how they can create like different behaviors and all that stuff. And people talk about, they have mantras and they have. Yeah, and these are great. I am not dissing because there's very much a place for them. But if you do them in isolation, they get you 30% along the road. Then what you do, and you remember the timeline work that we do. So what the timeline work does is it takes you out your head and into your body. Now, that's because when you experience an emotion and you feel it, it's not your head that you keep it in, it's your body. You feel it in.
Yep.
Okay. Now, if you let your head decide what to do with it, what we're very guilty of doing and what a lot of athletes are bloody good at doing is like they go, okay, I'm just not thinking about it. I'm focusing on what I have to do and I'm shutting everything else out. So all those thoughts that are going on when you shut them out and all those feelings you have related to those thoughts that you're shutting out, you're not shutting them out, you're storing them. They store in your body. So we go through and we store all these emotions in our body and we just go along not knowing anything's going on. And then all of a sudden you wake up one morning and you've got a pain in your shoulder or you've got a nasty cough or something goes on and we go, oh God, I must be sick or I must be injured. Some of the times it's actually your body going, Scott, all this emotion you've been putting in boxes all these years, honey, it's time to let it out. But you don't let emotion out through talking it out. You have to feel it and allow it to process through your body. And that's what the timeline work, that's the unconscious somatic work. And that, you know, when we're dealing with the body and the emotions in the body, we are getting into things like your beliefs and your behaviors, which correlate with the head. So you do that whole work and you're like, that's taking you way along. But then there's this other thing that's related to emotions called your energy. Now, who the fuck is talking about energy these days? Me. Because when I stepped into the energetic field, that was when I had the massive shifts in me. You know, and for you, oh my goodness, your energy, you were like a beacon. You were like glowing all different colors when you walked in. But your energy was, it was like one energy was trying to like avoid another one, and they were all bashing and conflicting. And that is a representation of what's actually going on in your life. So without you being aware of it over the course of that weekend, when you're doing all this stuff and making, you know, you're very intelligent and can make really good connections very easily, and you like to understand why things happen, and that's good, that's great. But when you do that and can do that energetically and emotionally as well, then all of a sudden you just start knowing that something's shifted, but not understanding what the shift is, but it's feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the one thing that can get in the way of that is the thinking.
Definitely.
So we've got to get you out your head, stay in the body for the whole weekend, and we do the cold water therapy.
Yeah.
And I always say the cold water therapy is where I teach you that the water is your master.
Yeah.
If you can master the water, let the water be your teacher. If you can master the water, you can master your mind. If you can get your mind out the way, then allow your body to do what it naturally knows what to do. It will process emotion in a nice way. If there's no emotion trapped in the body, then the energy can cycle round better. And that's when you feel great and everything works and you don't get illnesses and sore bits and migraines. And
I think I was the opposite, because that was the bit I was looking forward to. And the excruciating pain and intensity of cold water was the easy part for me, because I was like, everybody else was terrified for that, could open up easily. But I was like, colder, get more ice, because I was like, I can. That's a thing I can master.
Yeah.
And I think we went in, and let's say 20 people, and I was the only guy there. And everybody, how can I help you? How can I help you? What do you want at the weekend? And everybody went round and said, well, I would like this. It's private, I'm not going to share. Whereas I was like, no, I'm fucking bulletproof. They can't help me with anything. What would you like to open up about? I'm fucking bulletproof. I don't need help with anything because, well, nothing affects me. I'm resilient. And I think we opened it up and you're like, well, why do you believe that? And why? Because it was about emotions. Now, jumping into ice cold water, I'm like, well, I can torture myself with that because that's physical. That wasn't scary. Starting to open up about emotions, and I was like, I don't fucking have emotions. And it was like, why? And I think the answer was, I don't have the luxury of feeling stress. I don't have the luxury of not operating at my peak 100%, because I'm the leader of this business. I've got a partner who relies on me. There's 38 staff members at the time. There's thousands of owners. There's 50 franchisees. And I don't have the luxury of not, what everybody else I perceived as, I don't have the luxury of emotions and taking things to heart and saying, that person said that. So it wasn't, I believed at that time, it's not about feeling emotions. I just don't have the fucking luxury of being anything but absolutely bulletproof. And it did take a day before I would change my mind on that.
Yeah.
So very telling. And part of that was the work we did, but I think on that, let's say 20 people, it took, after the first 24 hours on that, were people of all different mindsets and beliefs. And I saw you helping those other 19 people in magical ways. And guys, I'm a reality-based, or I was a reality-based person, empirical evidence. And don't follow the science, by the way, because I think that's as bullshit as anything woo-woo. But I was like, well, what Mary's saying can't really, I've never seen evidence of that in my life, but when everybody else was getting something from that weekend and I was like feeling out of place, and I saw magical stuff happen, stuff we'll not go into, stuff we could not explain, and people being, I'm not going to say, I would say healed, but however you would do it, realization, healing, everybody was getting healed. Fucking, my thing was, I don't need healed, I'm fine. So I saw evidence to the contrary of what, I don't mean consensus in medical science, but I did go with an open mind that weekend to say there is more to life. I couldn't say we were talking about meaning life. It's about vibrations. I don't
Mhm.
think it's this is empty. It just vibrates. That vibrates, and I couldn't explain it. And I don't believe humans have the capacity to fundamentally conceptualize that and explain it. But we can accept that there's other stuff there. So the vibrational side of things, and I went with a very open mind. But it
Yeah.
took a day, and I saw many things in that weekend
And
of healing.
The great thing about what you said there is like you tell yourself a story. I don't have the luxury of emotions. You don't have a fucking choice. You've got emotions. So you were just keeping them in, like you weren't even allowing yourself the opportunity to develop in that sense, because you can't develop your mind without developing emotionally. The biggest difference I make with professional athletes is I don't talk about mindset. I'm talking about their emotional set.
Yeah.
You know, because what professional athlete do you know that's not fucking mentally strong?
Yeah.
Because you have to be mentally strong to put your body through what you put yourself through, to get up every day, to train 2-3 times a day. That's not a mental thing. It's not a psychological thing. If I look back in my athletics career, I was physically capable. Mentally, at that point, I was probably about 70-80%. That wasn't the real issue for me. The real issue was the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been taught all my life to block out the emotion of it. And you don't just block out the emotion of the pain when you're training or when you're competing. It's because like in an athlete's career, it's not like you're winning all the time. There's more lows and there's highs, but it's like you're taught when the low happens, you learn from it and you move on. And that's, you learn from it, you move on. And you read all the books, learn from it, move on. No, stop, process it, learn from it.
Yeah.
But we don't process it. And I find it a lot with athletes who then go into retirement and then are having like breakdowns all over the place. Or do you know what it's like when you're really passionate about something and you get high out of it?
Yeah.
You get that adrenaline rush, you get that high. When you don't have that high any longer, or you're not getting it in whether it's in your business, your life, like your sport or whatever, you will naturally chase another high. You have to, but a lot of people don't understand what it is they're chasing. They don't understand I'm chasing the high. They're like, just don't feel right. So that's when they turn to drugs, turn to drink, they turn to another, they become obsessed with something else.
Yeah.
And if we could just get them to stop and understand that thing that they're chasing is driven out of all this stored, pent up emotion that you've not cleared, then
it's great.
yes.
Something that happened to me, or somebody I met between going on your retreat last time and this conversation, which leads exactly to what you're saying about athletes once they win. It was the Scottish Olympian David Smith. Sure, I've got his name right because I'm
Paralympic athlete.
Yes.
Oh, incredible guy.
So big Scottish guy,
Yeah.
and again, you can help me here. But I was at a mastermind group in London, right? And he was a speaker. I'd never heard of him, to be honest. And he came in, and he could hardly walk, disabled, and it was just one of these life-changing things. And he said, "I was an Olympic master at 7 different disciplines, and then get cancer." So imagine even hearing that, going from being an Olympic athlete times 7 different disciplines, cycling, swimming, rowing and stuff. Sorry if you're watching, David, and I've butchered what you've said here, but the overall theme. And then got operated on for his cancer and was essentially told he was going to be paralysed for the rest of his life. So not only not having that peak of being a master at 7 different things, that goal achievement, things to have cancer, which he was getting over, and then was paralysed. And this was a Friday afternoon, and we called this on a Friday, and in the following Wednesday, Dave was going in for an operation that the doctor said had a 75% chance of killing him. I could operate on your paralysis and help you, but it might kill you. And he was one of the most positive people I've ever met. So that story is inspiring in itself, but what he did say to me that I'd never thought about, and it says to what you said, is 95% of Olympians have mental health issues. Yeah. And he talked about sports and the Olympic Committee or whatever that is, and all these sport things in the UK. They will get you to be physically perfect, the best you could ever be, to shave a fraction of a second, but zero gets done in mental health. And it isn't the physical thing. They don't help mental health, and these people just
I think like to give them credit, because I worked in the Institute of Sport, which is a high performance end of Sport Scotland, and I would say that there's not enough done because it's not prioritised. There's a team within the Institute. They've got the psychologists and they've got the performance lifestyle team that do play a role in that. But when you've got lottery funding and you're a coach and you're sitting and you've got a team of athletes, and as you say, you're trying to get a tenth of a second off them so they qualify for Olympics or major champs or whatever, the science, unfortunately, is always the thing that supersedes the emotional, that the kind of softer part of it, to the detriment. And this is the reason, and I've not talked about this, but this is one of the main reasons I left the Institute of Sport. Because I was so frustrated that they weren't putting the people first. It was about the performance, and I get that there's lottery funding as a performance, but the irony of it is, if they worked with that person and that person was happier, that person was more fulfilled in themselves, they would naturally compete better and would be an all-round better person, and we wouldn't have the mental health issues that we do. We did when COVID happened. There was a team put together to look at bringing athletes back into sport, because we were given special dispensation from the government to do that. And we had to obviously give the athletes the choice to come back. Do you know that less than 50% of them chose to come back?
Really?
Okay. Out of those, another 20% of them, after 3 weeks, stopped coming back into the practice. Because it was the first time in their athletic career, probably since they were young, that they'd been given choice. They could get to take autonomy and choose what was best for them. And it was remarkable, the impact it had on them. Athletes were coming back refreshed. But if you take the life of an athlete, I know we're talking sport here, but if you take the life of an athlete is constantly told what to do, kind of like it happens at school. You're told what to do. You're always told what to do. You're told when to show up, what to do, when to eat, when to sleep, how to race, how to, it's everything is put out there for you. And then something happens. And all of a sudden somebody asks you a question and says, well, what would you like to do? And you kind of go, I remember it happening to me the first. It sounds really stupid, but I remember I had a 2-week break off training, and we went to a fish and chip shop, because normally I wouldn't eat fish and chips as an athlete, but we went to a fish and chip shop and someone said, what do you want? And I was like paralysed. I was like, I couldn't make a decision. Because I'd not been...
Your meals are done for you.
I hadn't been given the opportunity to make a decision. Think of the impact of that on long-term well-being and mental health. Like when things don't go wrong, the support is taken away from them, or they become the bottom of the pile, and all of a sudden all that stuff that's you wake up in the morning, you don't have to think, you just go. And then you go to bed and you wake up in the morning, you go again, and all of a sudden that's not there, and you're like, well, what do I do? And you don't always, you do have the skills in there, but you don't always recognise you have the skills. And that's when you see people struggling. So you see a lot of people, especially in sport, because you're on that tightrope of being really fit or really fucked all the time. You know, that peak fitness, you're really fit, you're really fucked. And that can't, if you're, and a lot of the time, if you think what we're talking about there would be mentally strong, you've got to be mentally strong to keep on that. And you're taught it's not about the mistakes, or the defeats, is what you do about it, so you get back on. But you never deal with the emotional outfall from that. So there's all this carnage that sits along at the side of this tightrope. Then all of a sudden the tightrope gets taken away because you're injured or you're not doing as well, and you still get this carnage here. But we go through life and we carry that carnage with us emotionally in our body, and it gradually over time starts to have a negative impact on our overall well-being until you turn up to a retreat like mine and I go, whoa! And it's everyone has emotion, and it's not about having these big major outbursts of emotion. It's about learning how to process. It's a mechanism. It's teaching your body how to process and let go of emotion so it can clear the channel. Because if you don't let go of it, you can't let the good stuff in. And how many times do you speak to people, especially in business, and they go, yeah, everything's going great. Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, everything's going really well and I'm really happy. And you're like, well, you don't fucking look happy.
You don't feel it.
Because you don't feel it.
Yep.
Because there's no capacity to feel it, because you've all got this stuff the feeling can't move through.
Mm-hmm.
I went on a rant there. See, you got.
No, that's what we are now.
That's
That's what we've planned there. I'll bring in a little question. Quickly, you mentioned, tell us about your sporting career before you went into the mindset and the coaching side of it. You're an athlete.
I was an athlete. I was a runner, 800-meter runner, and funny story about what you teach your kids and you shouldn't teach your kids when you're growing up. I was always a good runner. I was naturally gifted at sport. Never really applied myself at school or anything. So it was like, I've come from this wee council estate. It was like, I was supposed to like work in the factory, have 10 million kids and be married by 16. And I generalise, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but that was what people did from the scheme. But I could do this sport thing, and I was always really good at running.
Yeah.
And naturally, I went to the Harriers. Kilmarnock Harriers was my first club. And when I was 16, I got offered the opportunity to go to America on a sports scholarship.
Oh.
But I was always told I was lucky. I was told I was lucky all my life. You're lucky that you can run. You're lucky you always fall in shite and come up smelling roses. That was the stuff I got. And when you tell someone in their the years, the developmental years, that it seeps in at some level.
100%.
So I thought I was lucky to be out there in America. And then I'd never applied myself. And when I went to university, like, I nearly flunked the first year because I'd never actually thought about myself as being academic. And then the thought of losing something that meant so much scared the utter shit out of me. So it was the first time I applied myself. Yeah. But again, I was lucky because I got the opportunity to be there, and I was just lucky because I was at a scholarship. Somebody said to me, "You're just lucky that you went to a university in America to get a degree." And I was like, you listen to that, and I remember at one point thinking, "Do you know how fucking hard it is to get into an American university?"
Yeah.
And to be an athlete, because it was a Division 1 school. I was at University of Georgia, and it's a Division 1 school. So as an athlete, we had to maintain over like a 2-point GPA, grade point average, which is a C, but a C over in the UK is 50%. A C in the States is 70%.
Right.
So if any of my grades in my class fell below 70%, I would be put on probation and wouldn't be allowed to compete.
Yeah.
So, you had kind of that motivation. Anyway, I digress. Went to America, came back after like the States. It was one of the first, again, I was about to say lucky. I was lucky enough that I was one of the first people to be lottery funded in Scotland, which allowed me to be a full-time athlete. But I get bored really easy. So I was in the police for a while and then competing, like training full-time in the police, which was interesting.
I never knew you were a police.
Yeah.
You need to bet these guests holding you. Let's
just I was a
here.
Shite police officer. Honestly, I let everybody away. There was this wee guy on Saturday night. He used to cycle. He used to cycle his bike drunk to and from and I was fed up with him falling off and knocking himself out. But I'd turn up at the pub on the way out and wait for him to take him home. I mean, I was such a bad cop. Sorry, loading and borders. But it was a learning for me. It's part of my journey because justice is very important to me. And I thought, I'll go to police. And anyway, it didn't work out. And I had a career break. It was lottery funded. I had a very successful career to a point, but I knew I could do more.
Yep.
I always knew that what I did in mixed races, what I did in time trials, what I did in training did not match up to what I did in competition. When it came to major competitions, something stopped me competing at my best. And that was a big frustration. Now, I worked with the top psychologists at that point in time, and they could explain to me why it was happening, but no one could tell me how the fuck to sort it. When I got the answers, when I started studying NLP. Neuro-linguistic programming.
Yep.
That is when I went, oh my fucking God. That was what stopped me. And it was based on something that had happened when I was younger.
And we were talking about the scheme that we had both brought up in East Ayrshire.
Aye.
And lucky. And there's a certain mindset when we go to America. Now, failure's fine in America. They love it. They pull you up in America. And in Scotland, with my business plans, they said that's far too, you'll never achieve that. Who do you think you are? You go to America and they laughed at me and says, come back next year with 2 zeros onto your business plan, just to give you a difference. But and where we were growing up in East Ayrshire, it was But my mum was like, people like us don't go to university.
Yeah.
Thought, who the fuck do you think you are trying to get a job? Like, it was the old mine in the pits. Even getting a job, you were shot down and bullied for going to work.
Yeah.
Fucking, why are you going to work? You do know if you go to work, by the time you pay your travel, you pay taxes. You're better off from benefits. And that was the mindset. And you talk about NLP and blocks. It was, East Ayrshire's a brilliant place, by the way. There's many great people in it. But when I was growing up,
I'm still there. I'm back there now.
But the business was there for many. It's where Pillow started. But it was definitely a different mindset, and it was statistically, when I was growing up, probably you're much younger than me,
of course.
But statistically, the KA and the K18 postcode, statistically, at the point in time when I left, you went to America, I joined the Royal Navy. And strangely enough, I nearly joined the police when I left the Navy. So very similar stories. Didn't know that. I passed all the exams. It was just about to start, and I thought, not for me. So I didn't, but I did follow the same process, thinking the armed forces was my conduit. It wasn't for me. Maybe the police is a step into normality and a solid career. But statistically, Ayrshire was worse for knife crime, for unemployment, for heart disease, for heroin addiction. So that was quite a big thing as well. But statistically, worse postcodes in Scotland at that time.
And it was scary growing up in there. It was. And I was always told, don't you put your head above the parapet. One of my biggest beliefs, like you talk about beliefs that you have that keep you small, is one of the biggest beliefs that I uncovered that I had, and I ran really and held on to vigorously for years, was I can be good but not good enough. You're all right to be so good, but see, if you're the best, people will shoot you down. So you don't be the best, and you never aim to be the best. And that was a thing that that was a pattern that would always run in my career as an athlete. And it started to run as well when I worked at the institute. It was like, I'm a blue sky thinker. I love being creative and all, and I had some great ideas, but you were always, don't take them because you just get shot down. And unfortunately, I had a boss that did like to shoot other people down. So, but I started to recognize it more and more showing up. Then when I went into business, I was like, I can't be like this in business. I cannot be like this in business. I have to be who I authentically am myself. And if I can't get myself to that place, we're always working on ourselves, but I'm okay being unapologetically me. That's our podcast. Right now, because I don't need other people to tell me how good I am or if I'm good enough. Don't need it. I like it. Don't need it, because I know inside that I come from a good place. My intentions are good, and that is enough. Can you imagine a world where people could live like that, could feel safe to be authentically themselves? That's my why. This is why I do the work, because I didn't feel safe growing up. I want to feel safe to be absolutely me in this world, and I want that for everybody else. And if I can help one person find themselves,
the book, the Ikigai, that's your purpose, that's your reason for being. And I'll share something I noticed. I realised we're talking about NLP and self-limiting beliefs and programming. It was just over a year ago we were on the Mind, Body, Soul retreat. And that day we were doing 100 days. And that was the thing. I had a personal trainer. I had my calories set out. And doing the training side and the weights was fine for me. But it was the calorie restriction, and my partner had made the dinner, that was fine. But when I was on that retreat, I can put on loads of weight. And every time and my personal trainer would say, why have you fucked this up? Because when I'm home, I'm fine. But when I go to a conference, it's like, why am I at a conference? And when I went in that, I was like, how did you fuck that up? You're on a mind, body, spirit retreat. You feel eating healthy. I said, no, it wasn't. But why could I not control myself? And on that retreat, noticed, why did I eat everything? And I linked it back, because when I was younger, we will edit this out, Holden, I'll share it now. I won't be sharing this with the audience. But when I was younger, my mum was an alcoholic. We went in, it was pillar cards and gas and electricity. It was like 50 pence meters. She wasn't always in. There wasn't food. And so I had to steal food from supermarkets. I had to go to friends' houses, and their mums and dads would cook me dinner. I'd walk 10-mile round trip to go to an auntie's to get my dinner. And that program in there led me to being 41 or 2 last year on your retreat, eating everything that was. Why could I not? I can't leave a plate with food on it. And it was because I had so much programming. How fucking crazy. Obviously a successful entrepreneur, but doing all right. I don't need to worry about food. I can eat whatever I want. Why did I have anxiety about leaving food? Why would I need to eat everything on my plate? How could I not leave food and there's a meal I had to have it? Well, that the meal it wasn't the nicest there, but why did I need to eat as much as I could till I felt physically sick? And that's because there was food provided to me. And that was the last time that happened to me. When I joined the Navy, everybody hated the food. I'm like, I've never ate as well in all my life. So I loved it because I get 3 square meals a day. I'd never had that. Everybody hated it, said the food was rubbish. I was in my element. But when I was 42, you're thinking, why did I go to my bed feeling physically sick? Because there was food provided and I had to eat it.
And it was a younger party that needed it. It was still running the programme.
How fucking crazy is that? That I couldn't up until that retreat. And I'm like, why can I not leave food? And my personal trainer says, you are Scott Weir. You follow your training plan. You can do anything you want. But why, when you go away to a conference, do you need to eat the food there? Because I would say, he says, that's bullshit. I went over my calories by 2,000 a day because. But why? Your girlfriend takes food every day. You don't need to eat it. And I was like, well, I do because it's there. But it's how fucking crazy is that when I talk about it? You can edit that out, holding that.
It's not crazy. That's how it works. See, when you've got a wounded part of yourself, a part that's traumatized, and what you experience is encoded in the body as trauma. If you don't go back and heal that part of you, irrespective of how your thinking brain works and how mentally and consciously strong you are, the trauma brain will always supersede it. The patterns based on a trauma brain or a trauma episode will always supersede any of the willpower. We work in willpower. You've got great willpower, but at that point in time, it wasn't a question of what should I do. It was the amygdala was like, fuck, starve or eat. So that trauma from the child came up and that program ran and would have made you eat and eat and eat to feel safe.
Mm-hmm. And I say that again, opening up, because that's the purpose of this and that's what you taught me. But you must see that manifested in many different ways with probably everybody, and they're unaware of it. Because I would have argued to death, why? Because I've paid for this ticket for this business conference, I've paid for Mary's thing, so of course I'm getting my value to eat money. But that's a bullshit you tell yourself. It was nothing to do with that.
It's an excuse that we come up with, but you have to do that, because if you're not aware of the trauma, and this is a problem with being in your head so much. We're taught to be in our head, thinking all the time, educating ourselves in the head. But if you're in your head all the time and you lose touch with your body sensation, your body talks to you as much as your head do, but we just fucking ignore it. So what was that question you asked me there? I was on a train of thought and I've lost it.
The most people you come across have some manifestation of programming that they're unaware of.
Yeah. So you were talking about the excuses that people make up. The reasons why people make up reasons which are actually excuses is because their brain has to make sense of how they're feeling, has to make sense of why they do a behavior. And your ego never wants to be fucking wrong. It does. It never likes to be wrong, and it doesn't like to be told what to do. So your ego was on fire in that retreat, and it was great. But ego, if you can learn to manage your ego rather than listen to your ego. But what we do automatically is we listen to the ego. It's a reaction to it. But if you can learn to manage it and work alongside it, you can retrain the ego. So when you have this you go to a conference and you do that, well, your ego's like, no, I'm fucking coming up with a really good reason, and I can give you a million good reasons for it. But at the end of the day, the excuses that are used to disguise and keep you away from the little party that's going, remember me that you talk whenever I'm going, there's food there that I have to eat it all. He just needs to be reminded that he's not that age anymore and he doesn't have to do it because you got it from here.
I'm getting deep in emotions. Let's take some audience questions, guys. Let's put one in here. What inspired you to pursue a career? We put leadership as consultant, but a career in leadership and coaching. Moving away from the athletic side to the mindset side.
It's just a passion of mine. I've always been really curious about human behaviour. And when I did the psychology, I loved that element of it, but I was really fascinated by what made a person be the way they are. And I love helping people. Absolutely love helping people. Now I would say it's a calling rather. I don't see it as a job or a career. It's a calling. It's to be able to have someone walk in your door a certain way, and then in the space of an hour walking out with their head held high, feeling differently.
It's amazing.
It does. It just, that fuels and fills me.
And I saw you doing that first hand over that weekend. There was 20 people there. I was obviously fine, and I didn't need help with everybody else. You solved everybody else. Everybody else had remarkable results.
But I would say I didn't do it. They healed themselves. I'm a conductor.
Yeah.
Because I don't heal people, or even though I call myself a healer, I would call myself a healing conductor. I just show people how they can heal themselves, because everyone has that infinite resource within them. Sure, we all need additional help and support, but everyone has within them what they already need to be the best version of themselves. I just help conduct the things along the way and show them how they can do it.
So conducting, some of your tools for conducting, one would be a little bit of NLP. We mentioned that, counselling, bringing in your experience, a bit of sports psychology. And one of the things that, one of the reasons I booked that course was, well, we know about NLP and that, we know about counselling and this, that and the next. But I wanted to dig deeper into things that were unexplainable or were not mainstream. So what are some of your other tools for conducting and helping people? We can get a bit esoteric and woo-woo.
So probably the best part of the retreats is I'm able to bring all of me to it. Now, I work with light workers. What is light workers? People have many variations of descriptions for light workers, but if you think it's an energy from something that's not of this plane, I have 3 different light workers that I work with, and they all come from different spiritual planes and parallel universes, and they effectively come in, and I'm just a conduit. They send the healing through. So a lot of the information that I get given from like my light workers, my spiritual workers. But when you're working in that means when you're doing things like timeline work, sometimes you can go back into past lives. Sometimes you're in a parallel life, because we do exist in different planes all at the same time. So that's that. But when they come through, they all talk in different languages, which is really interesting to hear. The most fun I'm having just now, I'm not gonna lie, is when we do the shamanic drumming, because one of my light workers loves to chant and loves to sing. The last retreat we had, I kid you not, see, by the Saturday night about 6 o'clock, I had no voice. I'd got a chest infection, and I was like croaking. But I wanted to do this drumming meditation at night, because it's just, I get so much from it. And I went into a meditation myself and asked my light workers if they would help me to get through the meditation. I kid you not, the notes that come out of my mouth, they actually didn't come, I don't know where they came from, but the notes that I produced, this was just some of the most stunning, incredible notes that have ever come out. The chants, it was like, none of this was here. None of this was here. It was like I had just an open vessel, and we had the most beautiful meditation, and my chanter was in, and she was singing and all that. She was in all her glory. And then the next morning I woke up and my chest infection was back like that. So again, I did an early morning meditation and made an agreement with them. I said, if you help me get through the rest of this retreat, I promise you I will take time to rest. And I was going to Jamaica 2 days after the retreat. So lo and behold, I was able to get through the retreat. I was fine, went to Jamaica. The minute I landed in Jamaica, I rested that whole next day, and then everything was gone. So that's the energy that I talk about. So from the esoteric stuff, there is a lot of spiritual, esoteric energy work that we do, but it's connecting with something that's greater than yourself, whether you call that universal, whether you call it spirit, whatever your beliefs are. Yeah.
We did loads of other cool stuff there. There was the laughter therapy.
Oh, yeah, Shazinator.
Yeah. Laughing.
Shout out to Shaz.
So shout out to Shaz. Give Shaz a shout out for her business.
Yeah. So Shaz is a Shazinator, the laughter generator, she calls herself. Oh, she's just brilliant, and I get her to come to all the retreats now. It just gives that light-hearted relief. But laughter is a release. It's a really good way to process and release emotion. So when we're doing all this work, what they're not aware of is when they're laughing and releasing, they're finding a way, a mechanism, a conduit of releasing all that emotion. And I mean, who better to make you laugh than Shaz?
A couple of other things we did. A little bit of, it's not chi, what was it?
Well, we did Tai Chi.
We did some energy work.
There's a lot of Reiki work.
Reiki, that's what it was.
Yeah, and Reiki healing. So the healing that I do is based on, like, people may call it Reiki. There's different types of Reiki. There's spiritual Reiki, there's energy Reiki, there's like hands-on, hands-off Reiki. But I would say mine is probably more spiritual than any. It's a bit of both. I don't have any choice. See, when I put my hand in a person, I mean, my hand's actually vibrating. Look at it. And it wasn't vibrating until I touched your legs.
It's near my groin, I guess.
Yeah. That's me picking up on your energy, which tell me like your energy is vibrating. You're quite fast right now, but see my thumb's tingling, so that's my healers coming through telling me where to guide me. So they'll just move my hand down to, I want to go to that spot right between your shin splints. I want to go right in there, and I want to release some.
If you'd caught me in the summer, we were doing some really cool stuff, grounding every week. I'd never been in a clearer place. Business challenges we're dealing with, the growing, scaling a scale up, trying to get this business to £20 million revenue comes with challenges. So I am in a vibrational state. But a couple of weeks ago, sunshine, reading every night, grounding, walking. I was in a beautiful place, but I definitely am there. I think the story for the Reiki, I was going in very closed off. Well, I fucking I'll tell you, I don't believe in that, because I sacked my cleaner this week. And genuine story, I sacked the cleaner because I was like, what's happening? I was doing some Reiki on your pets. And I'm like, fuck off, you're here to clean. If you fucking, I'm changing the energy of your pets. I'm like, you're a fucking cleaner. I don't care about my dog's Reiki. I need my house cleaned. So she gets sacked. Sorry if you're watching, but my cleaner was doing Reiki on my pets and not cleaning the house. Oh, I've not cleaned, but I've done your cat's aura's now good. I'm like, I don't care. Anyway, so I was quite close-minded, but again, we saw some things and my mind was opened. We saw some things happening.
Yeah.
And I'll say the last thing about this, which was the worst, biggest comfort zone thing, I was don't mind saying I was anxious about this. Everything else fine. I could public speak and do these podcasts, everything. And I thought there's no challenge in life that I'll not just step up to, but to do some, what was it, shamanic dancing or something? And I was in a circle of 20 odd women. Sober. I did when I opened up that I was like, I don't want to dance to music. And then you just feel the beat, and it was brilliant, and it was amazing. And that was one of these self-made up things. Well, I don't dance sober. I can speak sober, I can teach seminars, I can do all these things, I can do everything sober. But dancing, and that was the first time I'd ever danced sober, and I ended up loving it. But I would have been through the rest of my life believing I can't dance sober.
Now you know you can dance sober and dance well. And it's a very grounding, because you felt the energy. You feel it moving through your body.
Definitely. So listen, we could talk all day. I think we need 3 or 4 of these. I want to come back to your business now. Tell us about we've spoken about the retreats, and these are at beautiful locations currently on the west coast of Scotland, but who knows? You're going to have a podcast with someone. Tell us about your podcast.
So another business, I've gone into business with a wonderful woman called Paula Wingate.
Yep.
And we've created a business called Influential Women.
Nice.
Now, this is a group and an opportunity for influential women to get together to support each other. Because what we're finding is, as a woman, sometimes you spend so much time focusing to get successful. You have to bring in that masculine energy of driving, doing more, doing better, and it's constantly about the next thing. And the more we do that, we lose touch with the feminine essence of who we are. And when you speak with some women who are at the top of their game, as we talked about before, some of them are miserable. They're like, I don't feel fulfilled. I don't know what I want to do. I'm not living my passion, but I'm really successful. So what this group is going to offer is an opportunity where we teach them how they can be successful and happy and fulfilled. So it's about teaching them about how their masculine and feminine energies move through them, but how to get back to who they truly are in their feminine, and show them how they can be that and be probably even more successful in doing that. It's a supportive group where we don't compromise. We talk about this relates to men and women, but we either find that you will focus completely on one thing and compromise in that, or you will settle for this thing in order to do both. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense, because I know you can do and in both at the same time to the best of your ability, but it takes a little bit of learning how to. And it takes moving into the emotion. It takes understanding the masculine and the feminine energies that work through both of us. Because when you sit in your feminine, you're in a different place. You've flitted in and out of your feminine as you've been having this conversation, and then you go into your masculine because you have to get stuff done. The easiest way I say to think about it is, see, when you're learning to do a skill, again, sport's an easy thing. When you're training to get fit, so you have to be in your masculine because you're training, you're learning new stuff. But then when you go to compete or when you go to perform, and you go into your flow state or performance state, a flow state is a purely feminine energy. Because it's an energy of allowing and trusting. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So it's knowing when how both your energies move through you, so you know when and how to. I spent most of my life in my masculine energy as an athlete. Now I spend the majority of my time in my feminine energy. But don't get me wrong, shit needs to get done. It gets done. And that I'm still able, like I did this morning, in the High Rocks workout, shit's getting done.
You're competing in High Rocks this weekend?
Well, no, I've always been interested in the High Rocks. So I did my first training sessions.
Nice.
I went and did, like, it's a place that does the High Rocks. They did a slight variation of it. It was an American style Deku or something, I can't remember, but it's basically based on the High Rocks. I loved it. It was brutal, but
I might stumble my way through next
I'm
year.
hooked now, so I'm gonna. One of the girls wants me to do doubles with her,
Nice.
so I'm like, yeah, let's get into a competition, and then that gives you a focus.
It's just a time, and you do some improving it. So I'm going to have two more questions. One, we're finishing up on how you can work with Mary. Last question from the audience here, because we're do for others. We're going through a general election, or we've just went through a general election. There's uncertainty in the world, lots of things happening at the moment. So this question leads quite nicely. How do you maintain a positive mindset during challenging times? Just one final tip for the audience, that's going through stuff. What's a quick one?
See when you say morning gratitude, people go, oh, fuck. But I'll tell you why morning gratitude. Think about it differently. When you wake up and you're grateful in the morning, what that does to your brain is it sets up a positive feedback loop about mornings. If you wake up every morning and go, oh, shit, you set up a negative feedback loop about mornings. So anything you're grateful for, that's why gratitude works so well, because it sets up a positive feedback loop in your brain. Why do you need a positive feedback loop? Because what does that mean? That gives you motivation to keep going to the next thing. So shit happens in life. Overnight, your body and your brain digests it. You wake up in the morning. Every time you wake up in the morning, you have an opportunity to choose how you want to feel that day. Take advantage of it.
Brilliant.
Be grateful and choose what you're going to do.
Fantastic. It's a mental equivalent of that Admiral that says make your bed every morning.
Yeah.
So that's just it. So fantastic. That is a fantastic tip. And I'm going to finish up here. Anybody that's watching, Mary, we're going to get loads of people comment and want to follow up on this. If you guys are watching and want to work with Mary, be involved, get in touch with her, we'll put all the details here. Holden and the team will put them underneath. But if you're watching, what's your perfect person to work with? If you to get five new clients out of this that are watching, who's your perfect client and who would you like to work with? Who's perfectly suited to get benefit and value from you?
Someone who has that nudge that knows they're not entirely happy in themselves and is ready to do something about it. Because caveat, when you come and work with me, I will challenge you. There's no hold barred with me. I'm very honest. I'm very upfront. I'm in the most supportive way possible, but I will call you out on your bullshit. So if you're at a stage where you're like, you know what, I've tried these things, but just something doesn't feel like it's right. There's more. I know there's more to me.
Yep.
And you're ready to be honest and take responsibility for yourself, then I am definitely the person to work with. Equally, if you're in an organisation that wants somebody to come in and do workshops or talks. I love being on a stage, Scott, so I'm all up for motivational talks. So yeah, that would be the ideal client for me, someone's ready to get their shit together.
Perfect. Mary's given her time to come here today to give value to our audience. Let's return that. If it's not you, you know somebody that would benefit, please share it. We want every podcast guests to come on, make their businesses better. Everybody that comes on here and get 5 new clients, we can change the world and
Yeah.
keep everybody happy. So thank you very much, Mary. This has been inspiring. I know from my short time spent with Mary over the last year that this is the tip of the iceberg. We've got so much to share. I want to keep these under an hour. Thank you very much for the audience who asked some questions. Excuse me. We did not get through them all. It's the tip of the iceberg. We'll put all of Mary's details underneath this. If you're watching on replay and want to get in touch, please do. For now, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
A pleasure.
Thanks.